If your hands or feet sometimes feel like they're being pricked by thousands of tiny invisible needles, or you've ever woken up in the middle of the night because even the light pressure of a bedsheet felt unbearable on your toes, I need you to pause for a moment and listen carefully. Something important may be happening inside your body right now. What you're experiencing might seem like poor circulation or just another uncomfortable part of getting older. But in many cases, it's actually a warning signal from your nerves. And here's the surprising part. The common advice many people hear, to simply manage the pain, often ignores what's really going on beneath the surface. Because what many people don't realize is that these nerves aren't just irritated. In many cases, they're struggling to survive. They're not getting the fuel and support they need. But here's the good news. In many situations, this process isn't random, and it's not always permanent. My name is Dr. Michael Kent. Over the years, while studying age-related nerve health, I've met countless older adults who believed they were destined to live with constant numbness. Some couldn't feel the pedals of their car anymore. Others struggled to button their shirts. Some became afraid to walk on uneven ground because they couldn't trust their balance. Yet many of these people managed to slow, stop, and sometimes even reverse that decline. And they didn't do it with stronger pain medications. They did it by addressing a hidden metabolic switch that determines how your nerves produce and use energy. Today I'm going to walk you through a deep dive into how nerve repair actually works. We're going far beyond the basic advice most people hear. I'm going to explain the specific, fat-soluble nutrient that helps bypass metabolic blockages inside nerve cells, the everyday habits that might unknowingly be making nerve damage worse, and the protocol many people use to help restore their body's internal wiring. But before we talk about solutions, we need to understand the problem. Because if you don't understand the mechanism behind something, fixing it becomes almost impossible. The condition we're talking about is called peripheral neuropathy. Peripheral simply refers to the outer parts of the body, your hands and your feet. Neuro refers to nerves, and pathy means suffering or disease. So peripheral neuropathy literally means distress or damage affecting the nerves in the extremities. For many people, it begins quietly. You might feel like you're stepping on a wrinkled sock even though your foot is bare. Or your feet may feel freezing cold to the touch, yet inside they seem to burn. Those mixed signals confuse the brain because the connection between your brain and your foot is starting to break down. And this is where things get interesting. Scientists often describe this as the dying back phenomenon. Imagine a long extension cord plugged into the wall. If the plug starts to slip out, the lamp at the far end begins to flicker. Inside your body, the lamp is your foot, and the cord is the sciatic nerve, the longest nerve in your body. Because it's so long, it's also the most difficult for the body to maintain. When the body experiences metabolic stress, whether from elevated blood sugar, inflammation, or nutrient deficiencies, it begins conserving energy. Resources get redirected toward vital organs like the brain and heart, and the extremities are often the first places where that supply is reduced. So the tingling sensation you feel can be like the flicker of that lamp. It's a nerve cell sending distress signals because it's not receiving the oxygen and fuel it needs. So what's actually starving these nerves? One major contributor is a process called glycation. To understand it, picture a raw egg. The egg white is clear and fluid, but if you crack that egg onto a hot surface, it quickly becomes white and stiff. Something similar happens inside the body when sugar levels stay slightly elevated for years. Sugar molecules begin attaching themselves to proteins, creating sticky compounds known as advanced glycation end products, often abbreviated as AGEs. These compounds behave almost like a kind of biological rust. They accumulate in tissues and can damage tiny blood vessels throughout the body. And here's the problem. Your nerves rely on extremely small blood vessels called the vasa nervorum. These vessels deliver oxygen and nutrients directly to nerve tissue. When glycation products accumulate, those tiny vessels can become clogged and inflamed. The nerve essentially begins suffocating, and that suffocation triggers emergency signals that your brain interprets as burning, stabbing pain, or sudden electric shocks. If the oxygen shortage continues long enough, the nerve may eventually stop sending signals entirely. The pain disappears, but it's replaced by numbness. And numbness is actually more dangerous. Pain is a warning. Numbness is silence. When sensation disappears, small injuries can go unnoticed. A simple cut can become infected. In severe cases, this is what leads to ulcers and other serious complications. So the goal is to intervene before nerves fall completely silent. And this is where a fascinating enzyme inside the body becomes important. Your body actually has a natural defense system designed to deal with these sugar byproducts. It's an enzyme called transketolase. Think of it like a specialized cleanup crew. Its job is to redirect harmful sugar metabolites into harmless energy pathways before they can damage tissues. When this enzyme is working properly, nerves stay cleaner, more flexible, and better supplied with energy. But here's the catch. Transketolase requires a specific nutrient to function properly. Without that nutrient, the cleanup system slows down dramatically. And that nutrient is vitamin B1, also known as thiamine. Thiamine acts almost like the ignition key that activates this protective enzyme system. Without enough B1 inside nerve cells, the protective pathways weaken and damaging sugar byproducts begin to accumulate. Now you might be thinking, I already take a multivitamin. Doesn't that cover B1? This is where many people run into trouble. The most common forms of vitamin B1 found in standard supplements and fortified foods are water-soluble forms like thiamine mononitrate or thiamine hydrochloride. They're inexpensive and widely used, but the body doesn't always absorb them efficiently, especially as we age. As people get older, stomach acid production often declines. Digestive absorption becomes less efficient, and transporting water-soluble nutrients into cells becomes more difficult. Research suggests that only a small portion of standard B1 supplements may actually reach the bloodstream, and even less reaches nerve cells themselves. And here's why. Nerve cells are wrapped in a protective fatty coating called the myelin sheath. Trying to push a water-soluble nutrient through a fat-based membrane is similar to trying to mix oil and water. They simply don't combine well. So it's possible to have normal B1 levels in the blood while nerve cells themselves remain deficient. This is why researchers became interested in a special form of thiamine called benfotiamine. Benfotiamine is a fat-soluble derivative of vitamin B1. Because it dissolves in fat, it can pass through cell membranes much more easily. It moves through the digestive system, through blood vessel walls, and into nerve tissue far more efficiently than standard forms. Studies have shown that benfotiamine can significantly increase active thiamine levels in nerve cells compared with conventional B1 supplements. Once inside the nerve cell, it helps reactivate that protective enzyme system that clears harmful sugar metabolites. For some individuals, this metabolic shift is one of the reasons symptoms may begin to change over time. But there's another factor many people don't realize. Certain common medications can quietly drain nutrients that nerves depend on. For example, the diabetes medication metformin is widely prescribed and extremely helpful for blood sugar control. But it's also known to interfere with the absorption of certain nutrients, including vitamin B12. Diuretics, often called water pills, increase fluid loss through the kidneys, and water-soluble vitamins can be lost along with that fluid. Even long-term use of antacid medications can reduce stomach acid levels enough to interfere with vitamin absorption. This doesn't mean anyone should stop their medications. That decision must always be made with a doctor. But it does highlight why targeted nutrition support sometimes becomes necessary. Now let's talk about another important component of nerve health. Even if the metabolic pathways are restored, nerves that have already been damaged still need structural repair. That's where alpha-lipoic acid comes into the picture. Alpha-lipoic acid is a unique antioxidant because it works in both fat and water environments inside the body. That allows it to reach nearly every part of the nerve cell. Its main role is reducing oxidative stress, the biological wear and tear that damages cells over time. In some European countries, alpha-lipoic acid has been used for decades as part of medical treatment for diabetic nerve damage. Studies suggest it may help improve nerve conduction, meaning signals can travel through nerves more efficiently. Better signal transmission often translates into improved balance and better sensation. But here's something most people don't realize. Many inexpensive supplements contain a mixture of two forms of lipoic acid. One is the natural R form that the body uses. The other is a synthetic form that is less biologically active. Higher quality supplements typically use stabilized R-lipoic acid, which more closely matches what the body naturally produces. Another key nutrient for nerve repair is vitamin B12, but the form matters here too. The active form, known as methylcobalamin, plays an essential role in building and maintaining the myelin sheath, the protective insulation around nerves. Without sufficient B12, nerve fibers can lose that insulation, making signals weaker and more erratic. Many older adults are unknowingly low in B12 because its absorption requires healthy stomach acid and proper digestive function. This becomes especially relevant for people who have taken acid-reducing medications for long periods. However, there's something else to be cautious about. Some people hear that B vitamins support nerve health and begin taking large doses of B-complex supplements without paying attention to the ingredients. One particular vitamin, B6, requires balance. Both deficiency and excessive intake of B6 can affect nerves. High doses of the synthetic form called pyridoxine HCl taken for long periods may actually contribute to nerve irritation in some individuals. For this reason, many practitioners prefer moderate doses and the active form known as P5P. Another compound that has gained attention in nerve research is acetyl L-carnitine. Nerve cells require enormous amounts of energy to send signals through the body. Acetyl L-carnitine helps transport fatty acids into mitochondria, the energy-producing structures inside cells. By supporting mitochondrial function, it may help nerves generate the energy needed for repair and regeneration. Now let's shift away from supplements for a moment and talk about the environment inside the body. Because here's the reality. You can take the most advanced nutrients available, but if the body remains in a constant state of inflammation, repair becomes much harder. One major driver of inflammation in modern diets is excessive consumption of processed foods containing refined carbohydrates and industrial seed oils. Oils such as soybean oil, corn oil, and canola oil are extremely high in omega-6 fatty acids. When consumed in large amounts, they can contribute to inflammatory processes in cell membranes. Switching to more stable fats, like olive oil, avocado oil, coconut oil, or butter, may help create a healthier environment for cellular repair. Another powerful step involves reducing liquid sugars. Sugary drinks like soda, sweet tea, and fruit juice can spike blood sugar levels extremely quickly. Those spikes accelerate the glycation processes that damage nerves. Replacing them with water, unsweetened tea, or black coffee can significantly reduce metabolic stress. Now, there's something interesting that sometimes happens when nerves begin recovering. Some people experience what could be described as an awakening phase. As nerve function starts returning, sensations that were previously absent may temporarily feel stronger. Tingling, buzzing, or brief electric sensations can occur as previously inactive nerve fibers begin sending signals again. This can feel alarming, but for some individuals it simply reflects increased nerve activity. Over time, sensations may gradually shift from numbness to tingling to normal feeling. Magnesium also plays a role worth mentioning. Magnesium helps regulate nerve signaling and supports hundreds of enzymatic reactions throughout the body. Many people, especially older adults, consume less magnesium than their bodies require. Magnesium glycinate is often chosen because it's well tolerated and may help calm overactive nerve signaling while also supporting sleep quality. When people combine supportive nutrition with improved diet and lifestyle habits, nerve health may gradually improve. Consistency is key. Nerve tissue heals slowly. The body needs time to rebuild structures that have been stressed for years. For many people, the first few weeks involve restoring nutrient levels. Over the following months, deeper repair processes may begin. Patience becomes part of the process. I remember one patient, let's call him Robert. Robert was a retired carpenter in his 70s. His hands had built homes for decades, but numbness had progressed to the point where he could barely hold his tools. He was convinced his working days were over. We focused on improving metabolic support for his nerves and addressing nutritional deficiencies. For the first several weeks, nothing seemed to change. But around the 5th week, he noticed something small. He could feel the grain of wood again when he ran his fingers across a board. 6 months later, he was back in his workshop. Not because of a miracle, but because biology, when given the right conditions, can sometimes repair itself. Of course, safety always comes first. Anyone undergoing chemotherapy or managing serious medical conditions should always speak with their physician before adding supplements. If you have kidney disease or thyroid disorders, professional guidance is essential before making changes. Health decisions should always be made with proper medical oversight. But here's the key takeaway. The numbness or tingling you feel isn't necessarily a life sentence. It's often a signal that the body's repair systems need support. Your nerves rely on fuel, protection, and proper metabolic balance. And when those pieces begin falling back into place, the body can sometimes regain functions people believed were gone forever. If this explanation helped you better understand how your nervous system works, share this with someone who might need it. And subscribe to the channel if you want to keep learning practical strategies for maintaining health and independence as you age. In the next video, we're going to explore another common issue many people struggle with: high blood pressure, and a fascinating plant compound researchers have studied for its effects on relaxing blood vessels. If that sounds interesting to you, stay tuned. And remember this: your body is designed to repair itself. Sometimes it just needs the right support to start the process.